As we all know the song, ever since I was a kid, knew I was the shit. However, we're talking about my life here, so remove the from the equation, it will probably make more sense. One disclaimer that I want to say before I start off this video is that I am totally not a programmer. I was just an artist that just so happened to study engineering and program some code on the side, really. If I was in a job interview and people ask my programming experience, I doesn't really have much to say other than the fact that I have just dabbled with several languages, I guess. But that's about it, really. But it doesn't mean that, despite the tiny amount of programming I do in my daily life, doesn't mean that I do have a decent amount of history to talk about this. And it all started out when I was a wee lad, when I haven't had any cat ears and I looked something like this. My programming journey pretty much starts on when I was in middle school with the language called Pascal. Well, to be fair, if we talk about the absolute beginning, there's the scratch period, but we shall not talk about that. I don't know why my teachers gave us Pascal, but anyways, I remember my computer teacher saw me, and they think I do have some potential, so they basically just picked me up and transferred me into the competitive programming group that my school has. Yes, you can do programming competitively. And secondly, my school was pretty much one of the best around the area in terms of programming stuff, so because it's literally one of the elite schools in the area. But anyway, when I was there, obviously my teacher immediately find out that I wasn't him, and all I remember from the fact is that they do have their own sort of code training system where they ask you a bunch of questions and you have to program something, and then they would like check you, kind of like lead code, you think about it. All I remember is that from the whole thing was that there was this girl who was basically a Nagatoro but without a tan skin, and that she's tall, she got glasses, and that she doesn't love me at all. I remember she somehow made me create a username that is something bad, something like pee pee poo poo, and just let me go on with it, and I have to beg my teacher to make me set up a different account. And somehow, from what I heard, the girl somehow eventually went to MIT. You know, as I always say, I don't believe that nice guys always end last, but for some reason, I don't know why, assholes always go first. So basically, my computer teacher decided to transfer me to my physics teacher, which led the robotics team, and then I basically won the local competition and able to go from one hell to a slightly different kind of hell, but that's for a story for another time. Eventually, due to me getting crazy in my old school, my parents decided to send me to the UK, where I met Jabba the Hutt as a teacher, but woman, and also the fact that she was a Group B rally driver, which is kind of interesting. She was also my computer science teacher, and she basically just made me do some basic stuff on Python, nothing much. It's just very simple stuff. And then I went to uni. Of course, when I went to uni, I met so many more different languages, like Julia, which I have to deal with in order to simulate orbital mechanics stuff for the satellite project in the Space Society. And of course, we are also taught MATLAB, and then also C++, and also a bit of Python. So that's it. So that's pretty much my programming journey. And then also might as well add in the fact that I've done a lot of Linux Rising and a bit of Nix as well. But what do all those things have in common, you may ask? Of course, it's a fucking text editor. That's what this video is about. Finally, I'm back in my room that we all know and love. So now, if you're wondering what is a text editor, according to Wikipedia, a text editor is a type of computer program that edits plain text, which means that things like Microsoft Word doesn't count. But Notepad does, so you start to have an idea what I'm talking about now. In programming, they usually add a lot of other gizmagoo's in order to better to help you program a bit better, like text highlighting, some formatting stuff, also some theming, there's also plugin managers, and also with enough gizmagoo's, you'll probably end up with something like an integrated development environment with a debugger and compiler as well. So that's neat. If I remember the first time I actually met an IDE or text editor of some sorts, it's again back in that one computer room when I started learning Pascal, and there are 3 different kinds of text editors. However, the teacher only let us use one of them. I believe it's called the free Pascal IDE, and looks like, well, imagine this, a kid, right? Pretty much grew up in something like Windows 7, in love with the Fruitige Aero aesthetic, and all of a sudden, he has to face with this abomination of a UI.
What the fuck? No!
It is so bad that you can't even resize it, so we all have to put our head really close to the monitor just to programming, because you can't full screen it or else the whole window will break. Normally I would say something like it all goes downhill from here in my videos, but the good news is that this is one of the rare cases that it will go up from here. I promise. And of course, the other two text editors that come with the school PC was, I believe it's Dev C++ and also Notepad++. But again, I wasn't him. I was like 14 or something, so I didn't really bother to use those. And I think that was the time I did sort of experiment with a bit of Proton. But again, I was 14. I didn't really know much about computers, so I didn't really have much use from it. And also later when I learned about Python, Python also comes with its own IDE of sort. It's called an IDLE, and it looks blue. That's it. It just looks dark blue. But of course, at this point, if I remember, the program that we all know called a VS Code sort of just gained popularity and got released or something, and it was great. You can have a lot of plugins, a lot of themes, has a very neat UI. But the problem is, because it was pretty much practically a web app, every time you try to open it, it takes like 20 seconds or something just to edit a few texts or something, just to do your homework, which makes me kind of a bit frustrated. So either you can have a neat UI but it runs like a turtle, or some weird abomination. And then later I went to, of course, as you all know, I decided to give Linux a try. Right in Linux, there's this thing called Vim. You know, if you try to like look into Linux, you gotta quickly go into Vim. Believe me, you're gonna eventually have to deal with it eventually. I think I found the one that is perfectly for my needs for now. So now we'll talk about Vim, or more specifically, NeoVim. Well, there are really a lot of videos online about the story behind Vim, so I'll just simply go through the gist of it. We have to go back to the time when there were no such thing as monitors, and people pretty much have to type everything line by line, and the outputs are all on the printer. So there was this program called Ed. This is what the people used to do programming with, and it's kind of clunky, but it's the best you can have due to the technical limitation of the time. But then we start to have monitors, and we can finally have like proper visual terminals. And from ED, people who used ED a lot developed what is now known as VI. And then after VI, the reason why we have Vim is that Vim is basically VI improved. Now you know why it's called Vim now. And after that, because of the config files are all written using some weird scripting language that only Vim uses, people started to get frustrated about it. So they did make a fork of Vim and churn out a thing called NeoVim. That's basically the simplest way I can put it. Even though despite the amount of evolution, Vim is, or even NeoVim is practically unks in the programming space. It's been here for a very long time. So, and not only that, Vim and VI is pretty much default in most Linux distributions. You can just run the command without installing anything. So that's neat. And that's also the reason why a lot of the people that run NeoVim usually have abbreviations for turning NVim into Vim or VI. Even though I do set this myself as well in my own fish shell, I always still regularly type out NVim in my terminal just as a force of habit. So essentially all that said, what I'm saying is that the whole Vim thing is pretty much has really tight relation with the whole Linux ecosystem, and pretty much when you like handle Linux, you're gonna like find it eventually, and it's kind of useful. Despite some people might claim that like modern UI has a lot of great things about it, which to be fair, they're right in some parts. However, there are still some niche uses where VI or Vim is being used. Like instances where you have to remote login into a server with SSH, where you can only have an access to a terminal. The only way that you can actually interact with the systems or do any form of text editing is with the terminal program known as Vim or VI, depending on what distribution you have on your server. Other than the fact that it has to be used in some niche applications like what I have said, there's also other benefits to it as well. One of the benefits is that because the whole program is pretty much invented before mouses were invented. It encourages your hands to stick on your keyboard so that you don't have to like move your hands from the keyboard to the mouse every time. For the people who have been programming a lot, sometimes do find that frustrating. The other thing about Vim is good is that because it was invented years ago, in terms of modern hardware, it basically opens up very fast and it's pretty lightweight as well. The other thing that's really good is that the amount of customization is so... You can do a lot with it in terms of customization. Hence, you can see a lot of surprisingly beautiful development environments. Hell, because due to customization, this is not an IDE anymore. This is not just a simple text editor. This is a PD, a personal development environment. If you know what you're doing, you can basically make one up yourself. But to be fair, one disclaimer that I have to say about this is that Vim just takes a while to learn. What I recommend you doing is that, especially for the ones that are already programmed a bit, is that you find some sort of Vim plugins to learn how all the controls of Vim work. And then after that, you also watch a couple of videos of the handsome mustache man. And you're probably set, and you're probably ready to try to use the actual Vim thing for yourself. After that, I think I'll just show you my setup now. Before I want to show you my NekomiVim/Vim setup, I really want to tell you about two stories that related with me with Vim that I'm really proud of. One is that in my university we were taught C++, and at the end of the whole course we sort of have to take a test using the university's computer, and we have to go through like remote access into the university server, and the server is run on Linux. Like I think half of them doesn't really know how programming, so they just use whatever the hell the professor gave them as IDE. But me, obviously, as you know, I'm built different. I basically just open the terminal during the test and just run Vim during the whole thing. And I passed with flying colors. While some of classes were like complaining that their code can't even compile. I just compiled everything like with a terminal. I didn't even use an IDE. I just used a terminal. That's that one story. And the other story is that during the whole course thing, I met a cute tomboy of a teaching assistant, short-haired, by the way.
Yes, 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 yes.
So basically, she came across my computer, and she was like, "Wait a minute, is that Vim?" And I was like, "Oh, how can you tell? Like, how can you tell it's Vim?" And I realized like she's quite into the Unix kind of ecosystem, so we just sort of like chat about it. And she told me like she uses BSD, which is a surprisingly niche choice, but like she's going for a cybersecurity degree that requires it, so which I can understand why. And I asked her like, so do you also use Vim? And she was like, no, I use Emacs.
No, fuck, shit.
Well, on to the setup. Hey guys, I'm sorry about this certain things about this part of the video because I basically record this when I'm kind of sick, so bear with me. A few things you know from the last video, I changed the theme, and of course another thing I did change is that I did change the terminal font. I did change the theme because I literally made my own theme. It's called FujiIdol. I hope you like it. I'm still building it. I do have a couple ports, especially the one that I want to show you that I'm really proud of. It's called NekomiVim. It's a theme that I made myself. If you wonder about the font, it is called Maple Mono. So the reason why I prefer this one now is simply because it is really hard to find a font that has nerd font support that also includes Chinese as well, and this is pretty much literally the only fonts that I can find for now that fits not only my language needs but also my nerd font sort of programming or Linux type needs, which is literally the only font I can find, unfortunately. But anyways, of course we are back at the Linux, well, back at the Next OS. And now what we're going to do, go to my NVim config and get to NekomiVim. Now, as you can see, when you get in, two things that I customize. One, the top part, I did randomize the language, so sometimes it will show up in English, sometimes it will show up in Japanese, some other times it will show up in Chinese. It's more of an aesthetic / language thing, and also I did add the quotes here. This one's from Terry Davis. Obviously, if we do it again, another quote again, and if we do it again. Okay, why does the language doesn't change? Give me a second. Like, okay, there we go. We got a Chinese version.
Let's go gambling.
When do I have the English version? Finally, yep. With a code from Witcher Storman now. So there's that. Now we're in the NekomiVim configuration. These are the amount of plugins I have, which is this is all I got. But still, you can just find file. I do have just tree-sitter. We have like completion, SP, just language server, just config, CMP config. This is basically the config for the start menu. As you can see, I do also have the language settings as well. This is what I got. These are all the quotes that I have that I feel like adding. This is just some other find files. I'll just go find out the files. This is a plugin list. Well, it's kind of loud. We all have some are just comments, some are just themes. I have been testing new themes. Do a line, that's just a line. Language server, Telescope, Alpha, tree-sitter, Vim text. Which if you ask me what I use NekomiVim mostly for, partially to code my own theme. That's one of them. Of course, again, feel free to contribute if you feel like it. I'm still making themes for the other 3. I'm planning on having 4 of them. All of them are based on some of my artworks, and currently I'll have 1. The next is gonna be some sort of light theme, which is based on other artwork. But that's sort of my plan for now. Progress is a bit slow, but I try my best. So what I usually do NekomiVim for, other than the theme, this is my theme. Oh. This is just the palettes. That's not very much. I'm mostly just try and have more highlights. This is just for themes. I'll probably need to figure out how to do the theme switcher soon. The other thing I mostly do with NekomiVim is that to write my light novel. This is sort of a lot of the writing that I do for my light novel. I just mainly use NekomiVim for light novel these days. Just a bit of spoiler alert, I guess. That's what I'm working on. And of course, it's kind of nice that they do have autocorrect sort of, but they don't really correct you. What else I can say? I mean, I could show you other programming languages. This is sort of one of the homeworks that I had to do for a while, for a bit. It is a bit long, but it works for me. Yeah, there's sort of an example of what code really looks like. I don't code much. Yeah, I think that's all I can show you, really. Yeah, that's it. So I know this is what NekomiVim is about, and also my setup. All sources will be linked in the description, including the FujiIdol and also my light novel. Also, another news that I want to say is that I'm heading back to university, so I probably won't be able to make much videos then, but I'll try my best. I hope you like this one, and I'll see you guys next time. Also, I still have no outro song. Yeah.